So way back, your first deal. What did that look like? What kind of deal was it? How'd you find it? Uh, let's start there.
All right. So actually, interesting enough, my brother and I remember back in 2016, he I would meet him for dinner once a week, and we'd kind of talk about real estate. He's like, "Hey, I'm looking to getting into real estate," and he was interested in possibly doing the flipping side. And we kind of talked about it, and I said, "Well, how, and he kind of wanted to do the house hacking thing, which was to buy a property, live in it, and then fix it up." And I said, "Okay, are you doing this for a hobby, or are you doing this to make money?" And he's like, "Well, I really want to." He's an engineer, so he's like, "I kind of really want to figure out how to like fix stuff." Um, and so we kind of started that conversation there. And I think he went to a couple conferences and decided mailing. And
Direct
At the
mail.
time, I wasn't working with him. He had kind of started mailing. And I remember the first, the event that I think all of us had gone to was Flip Hacking Live and with Seven Figure. And so at that time, one of our mentors, Andy McFarlane, had told him, he had gone up to him and said, "Look, I'm mailing in California." And Andy was like, "You need to not be in California. It's so competitive. It's so expensive to find a deal." And so Kirsch looked into different markets and ended up finding uh, a suburb of Tampa,
Mhm.
which is where we started. And it was just purely out of mail, finding distressed leads, going through that, sending out mailers, and someone called. And I remember when that deal came, he came to me and was like, "I think I found something." And then like literally like a couple weeks after that, the second deal came in, and he's like, "Oh my God, I think we're onto something." He's like, "You want to help with this thing?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." We both had full-time jobs at the time. So I remember we would wake up like super early in the morning because we were in LA and this was in Florida. So we'd wake up at like 5 in the morning, which was like 8 a.m. Florida time. And before work, we'd get like a bunch of calls. Like we'd get leads and then we'd call people back. And yeah, I mean, we got our first two deals, within, I would say, like 3 months of just mailing and people calling. And yeah, the rest is history.
And that's fast. So what type? So you're sending direct mail, which is, hey, like to buy your house. I mean, there's a little bit more to it than that, but
Right, right.
basically, we'd like to buy your house. Give us a call. What type of list? Where did you get this list?
I think back in the day, everyone just used List Source, and I think you could still use List Source.
Like an
I don't,
absentee,
yeah,
or
absentee, distressed, um, uh, vacant properties. Um, Usually, I would say usually absentee owners, it
mhm.
was a hot one. I mean, usually we were targeting people that were landlords that had multiple properties, people that had owned properties for at least 10 years, people that also had properties but lived out of state,
Yeah.
right? So finding a lot of those properties where you got an extra property laying around, either it's just sitting vacant and people need extra cash, or it's possibly distressed because they've owned it long enough,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So a lot of
So,
deferred maintenance or a
right,
tenant in
right,
there.
right, exactly. Or yeah, you've got a tenant in there and you just really don't want to be a landlord anymore.
Mhm.
Or a lot of these people sometimes have had bad experiences with tenants, trashing the place and all that. And so yeah, those are
So
usually
would
the
you end
high.
up did you end up, like, buying these and flipping them, or did you wholesale them?
Well, interestingly enough, because we weren't based over there. We actually, Kirsch had found a realtor who was also on Bigger Pockets. And so through him is how they got pictures and all that. And I think the first two, no, I would say the first year pretty much in 2017, we would buy them and then we would just list them. We didn't even wholesale at
Mhm.
the time. We would just buy it and list it. I mean,
Which, a lot of people call that
wholesale,
wholetailing. You're basically putting you know, a discounted property on the retail market being MLS,
correct.
which a lot of times you can squeeze a little extra juice, get a little bit extra for it.
Right. So the first year, 2017, we had 4 deals. All of them were under 100K. The first property that You
Like
know,
you bought them and you made under 100K, or you bought them for under 100K and
we bought them under 100K, and there were out of 4 properties, we grossed about 140 something thousand dollars. So each deal was approximately
so
30 to 40
30,
thousand
yeah.
dollars. Yeah,
Not,
yeah,
yeah, not bad. I mean,
not bad at
you
all.
started the business, and within 3 something months, you've got a big chunk of change in the pipeline, and I'd imagine that would, by percentage, make up a decent chunk of what your represented your W-2 income.
Exactly, and I think that's where it was like, even out of the first 2 out of the gate, I mean, the first one we profited 32K, the second one profited 35K, and it was like, man, even if we get a couple of these in a year, I mean, we're gonna be able to replace our salaries, no question.
And have
Which
more fun, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's the part of it, right? Is finding these deals and being able to help people at the end of the day as well. It is
Mhm.
actually really enjoyable and fulfilling.
So, what are you doing now? Are you still so I know you're wholesaling statewide, so you mentioned that. Are you doing the same type, like direct mail, or are you marketing a little differently? Are you still putting stuff on MLS? Are you doing more direct investor?
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of people say mail doesn't work. I mean, mail still works. We get a huge chunk of our deals from mail. We've also done PPC, so online. We're also doing texting, reaching out to people through text, through launch control. Even Zillow, you can find deals for sale by owners. I mean, it's all there. If people say, oh, it's such a competitive market right now, and it is, and Tampa's getting really, really competitive. But at the end of the day, there's still properties out there. You just need to know how to find it. And I think the key is just making offers. I think people don't make offers enough, and they don't make them as quickly as they should, especially in this time right now.
Yeah, because if you get a phone call, like, one, you gotta answer it.
Oh
Because if
yeah,
you don't answer it, they're calling the next person, and then calling the next
right,
person, then that person
right,
answers it, and like boom, like they get the shot.
totally.
But you answer it, now you gotta know what you're doing, how to make that offer, how to analyze the deal. I guess in the final 30 seconds, any advice for folks either wanting to get started wholesaling or do it virtually? Any thoughts there? And then how can folks get in contact with you?
I mean, I would say you don't need to create, and don't overcomplicate it. At the end of the day, wholesaling is just simply the term of buying and selling, with a contract in place, like assigning a contract. So I would just say find a deal that makes sense, know the comps, know the area. If you need to, get help from a realtor or someone else that's, that you trust, that can run the comps for you. But I would just say you can do it for free. You can do it for free. You can do it in your spare time. Just don't be scared to make offers. I think that's key, and
Yeah. So yeah, like what's the kind of the golden rule in real estate? Like,
yeah,
if you're not embarrassed by your offer, you're probably offering too much.
too much. Right,
Worst thing they
exactly.
could say is no, and you just move on to the next one.
You actually
But
want to get a no. You actually want to get a no, because that means that's you've hit a bottom. So
and that, yeah, that's where the conversation starts.
right, right.
Love it, love it.